What's up guys, Lou here for Golf Avenue. Did you know that the video where we compare some of Cobra's most recent driver is our most watched video to date? Well, because you liked it so much, we decided to run it back. This time though, we're looking at their irons. But you're probably wondering to yourself, what's the point of this video? Why are we comparing Cobra irons? Well, there's a very simple explanation to that. First of all, we want to know how well suited those irons will be to the players they're targeted. We're going to try different profiles who are suited to different type of players, so we're going to see just how well they suit the needs of those specific type of golfers. And the other thing we want to know is we want to see what's the gap in performance between game improvement irons, some models we'll be looking at are game improvement models, and models that are more suited to the needs of skilled players such as blade and muscle back models. But enough with the chit chat, let's head on over and find our clubs. So for our first set, we're gonna go with the Cobra Aerojet from 2023. This model should be popular with high-end cappers or golfers who need a lot of forgiveness when they're out on the course hitting their irons. Next up, we've got the King Tour 2023. This set should be very interesting to highly skilled players looking to maximize their output on the course with their very high-end skill set. Our third set is the 2022 Cobra Forge Tech X. This one should be very interesting to mid to high-end cappers looking for a more forgiving variation of the Forge Tech. Our fourth set is a Cobra King CB-MB combo set, perfect for highly skilled players who want to retain just a touch of forgiveness when it comes to their longer irons, but want all the precision possible when it comes to their shorter irons. Well, there you go, the combo set will be right for ya. Last but not least, we're looking at last year's release, the Cobra Darkspeed. It's perfect for golfers who are looking for more power. This set is distance focused, so you know you're looking at the right one. Alright guys, we've made it to the sim. As you can see, little wardrobe change. It's a bit hot in here, so let's get a little more comfy. Obviously, we're going to go over what we'll be using for this test. Right off the bat, we're going to be using the TaylorMade TT5 golf ball. Very typical of what we use here for our test. As you can see, I've got my irons and the wedges behind me. We've got our 5 sets. I'm going to be hitting 10 good shots with each club, so 10 good shots with the pitching wedge, the 7 iron, and the 5 iron from each one of our sets. I'll come back to the camera and give you my feedback after testing each one of the sets. And once we've gathered all of our data, we're going to head back to the warehouse, sit behind our desk, and take a proper look at the comparison and see which one came out on top. But that's enough chatting for now, so let's go hit some clubs. Alright, so we just finished testing our Cobra Aerojet set. I've tested this set in the past. If you've watched our forged versus cast iron video, you can check this out right here. It's linked above. But if you've never seen it, well, here's my opinion on the Aerojets. They are very powerful. They are typical game improvement irons. Yes, they do have a forged face, which is a bit unique, but it'll give you more feel at impact than your typical game improvement iron, which is definitely a plus if you're looking to have more feel for the ball. But what I will say is that the 5 iron was a bit disappointing to me. Pitching wedge, 7 iron, no problem at all. Great distance, especially great consistency when it comes to distance. So I was really always in the same range, especially with the 7 iron, very dialed in. Maybe that was just me, but honestly, cheers to the club. I was not always hitting the best strikes, but the distances were very accurate. But the 5 iron, I really struggled to get my actual distances, which I don't game improvement irons. So I was shocked that this 5 iron wasn't able to make the same distance that I'm able to produce with irons that are much less forgiving and are definitely not built to provide you with more distance at impact. So maybe that was just me, maybe I just couldn't find my ease with the 5 iron, but I will say that when it comes to shorter irons, and maybe if you're looking for a set from 6 to maybe gap wedge, that'd probably be the best option when it comes to the Aerojet. So overall, great set, very, very powerful at impact, somewhat forgiving. So if you're a beginner looking to lower your handicap, or simply a high digit handicapper looking to do the same, the Aerojet is a set that'll be worth your time and worth the investment. Honestly, you can't go wrong with this one. So we just got done testing our Cobra King Tour irons. Right away, I have to say that if you're someone who lacks maybe control or lacks swing speed with your irons, you definitely want to stay away from these guys. Much like the King CB and MB combo set that we tried earlier, these irons are very, very thin. So here again with this iron set, what you should be looking for is to maximize the control over the golf ball, over the trajectory of your strikes. These irons have the profile perfectly suited to your needs when it comes to control over the golf ball. The reason why I say that golfer with slower swing speed might not find their comfort with these ones is simply because I didn't manage to get the distances I would normally get with my personal set with this set. This set is slightly less forgiving than what I would preferably like. They're also really thinner than what I have in my bag. So I was honestly a bit surprised that I didn't manage to have more comfort with them. I have to say the pitching wedge was very, very comfortable. Actually, it was probably the most accurate club I tried of all the ones I tried during my testing session today. But when it came to the 7 and 5 iron, I was losing out a bit of distance and consistency overall, which is really surprising to me because if you take another close look here, we're just gonna finish this up right here. There is a weight behind the club head and right in the sweet spot of the club face. But despite this weight, that will definitely help with your spin rates and your launch angle. And with a touch of forgiveness, I didn't see enough forgiveness out of those to suggest them to a mid-handicapper or high handicapper. If you're a low double digit, you might find comfort with these. I am one of those golfers, and I didn't really find my comfort with them. I would have needed a touch more forgiveness when it came to the longer irons, so probably a combo set with these ones in the shorter irons. But overall, if you're a high single digit or mid single digit, you really might want to look into those ones because one, they're really affordable, they're Cobra irons, and on the second hand, you really will be able to maximize your control over the golf ball while retaining a slight bit of forgiveness that you could still need. But most likely when you're into the single digits, you're not looking for forgiveness anymore. You're really looking to shape the golf ball the way you want. So yes, the recap for this set was slightly longer than the other ones, but I really wanted to make it clear that while they were not perfect for me, I can really see them in the bag of a skilled player who likes to shape the golf ball and doesn't need a lot of forgiveness. Alright guys, so we just got done testing our Cobra Forge Tech X irons. To be honest, I would put those straight in my bag. No kidding here. They were great. They felt great. Just enough forgiveness to feel comfortable with every single strike. Just enough accuracy to feel great. Honestly, I'm at the point where I'm looking for a little more accuracy on my irons, trying to be able to work the ball a little more while still retaining just that touch of forgiveness. These were perfect. You can also see from this insertion right here, they are foam injected, so you know that's how I managed to keep this small touch of forgiveness at impact. The one last thing I'll say about this set is that there is some noticeable offset near the nozzle, especially when it comes to the shorter irons and the pitching wedge. This did pull the ball a little more to the left than I would have preferred, just because I naturally tend to do that myself, so I didn't need the club to do that. So the only thing I would have loved from this set is just to have a little less offset so that the strikes could be just a touch more straight. But while this offset was not right for me, I can definitely imagine a golfer slicing their irons, really, really loving the profile of these ones. So if you tend to slice your irons, or if you're looking for a set that will provide you with nice control over the golf ball while retaining a good bit of forgiveness, the Cobra Forge Tech X irons are probably for you. But again, we'll compare them to the rest of the field when we go back to the warehouse. So let's move on to our next set. Alright guys, so I just got done testing our King CB and MB combo set. Obviously, I got what I expected out of them. The pitching wedge and the 7 iron were extremely accurate, very thin at the top line when you're looking over them because they are muscle backs. Great feedback at impact, great control over golf ball as I said. The only downside that I noticed with this one, as you would expect, is the lack of forgiveness. After all, they are muscle back. If you look at them, they are incredibly thin here. We'll look in the pitching wedge. For pitching wedge, this is very, very thin. So you know that the forgiveness is not very there. When it came to the pitching wedge, the forgiveness was not as needed. Very easy to hit. When it came to the 7 iron, I could feel right away that if I was not hitting a great strike, it was going to go off. It was either going to be a small little hook or a more pronounced slice that would go off to the right. When it came to the 5 iron, I was much more comfortable. It's a cavity back, obviously, so a little more forgiving, a little thicker in the club head. This nice cavity back here behind the club head, little thicker than the 2 other ones we looked at already. So what I liked about this one is that the cavity back helps with launch angle, obviously launch the ball a little higher. I was able to match some of my own personal distance with my own set with this one. However, I have to say the consistency wasn't what I wanted it to be. I was able to get around in the end and be more accurate and consistent with it, but right off the bat, it took a while to get used to it. Again, a lot of pushes, maybe too many draws. So, just in my opinion, this set is really made for players who have the skills to manage the shorter irons in the muscle back and the longer irons in the cavity back. So if you're mid-handicap player or single digit looking to lower their handicap or maximize their control in the shorter irons, this is a great set for you. Perfect option. But we'll still compare it to the other sets once we're done testing it. So let's move on to our next set. Alright guys, so we just finished the test of our freshly brand new out of the package Cobra Darkspeed set. I will say that they're probably best suited to a mid-handicapper or a higher handicapper looking to let go a bit of that forgiveness that super game improvement sets will give you, and moving on to something that will provide you with more control over the golf ball and more feel for the ball impact. So the Darkspeed, you really get a nice feel for the ball, which is surprising considering their cavi back iron sets. But what I will say is that there is a noticeable draw bias when it comes to especially the pitching wedge. Not as much with the other ones, I didn't see it as much. I was able to actually distribute the ball evenly on the left and the right when it came to the 5 and the 7 iron. But when it came to the pitching wedge, there was a very clear draw that I actually struggled to fight against, which is not ideal if you already have a draw, much like I do with your irons. So just something to keep in mind when you're looking at this set. But overall, a decent set nonetheless. The distances were pretty accurate to what I would expect out of an iron set. Honestly, they were close to what I would generate with my own clubs. I will say that the 5 iron, since it's more of a game improvement model, although, like I said, it's not the most forgiving one out there, you will be able to get longer distances if you're able to hit the ball perfectly. But also, since there's not as much forgiveness, 4 strikes will have a greater cost to them, but not that big. Honestly, it was probably about 10 yards, which if you're thinking about a 5 iron, 10 yards will still leave you with a decent strike overall. So, my opinion of the Darkspeed, great for mid-handicappers or higher handicappers that are looking to have more control over the ball. Maybe not so great for very high handicappers or beginners who are looking for as much as forgiveness as possible. But now that we've done all of our irons, we've looked at them, I've given you my feedback on each one of them, it's time to head back to the FC, take a closer look at their data, and see which one came out on top, and obviously answer the questions that we posed at the start of our video. So let's go to the FC. Alright guys, we're back behind the desk. It's time to take a closer look at the data we gathered from this test and see how well our clubs performed. First up, 5 irons. So when you're looking at the performance chart of the 5 irons, there's probably a few things that will jump out to you, much like they did for me. So right off the top, I was quite surprised to see the Darkspeed so far ahead of the Aerojet, considering they have such a similar build. One thing to look at if you really want to see how much of a difference there is between the two, look at the difference in club speed and ball speed between the two. The ball speed of the Darkspeed is much higher, as it was able to transfer the speed much better than the Aerojet was able to. And unsurprisingly, right behind them, at least for me, you'll find the Cobra Forge Tech X, and obviously lagging behind are the 2 more skilled models. I didn't expect much out of them, but we still need to mention them. One thing to note though is that the dispersion area of the Darkspeed 5 iron was quite impressive. Obviously it could have been tighter, but considering it was the longest club of all the ones we tried today, the dispersion area was very impressive. Moving on to our 7 irons, I think that if you look at the chart here, it will definitely tell the story of what I felt during my test with those clubs. The Forge Tech X were the better feeling irons to me. I felt like they suited my game perfectly. We have to give an honorable mention to the Aerojet just for the fact that it was so good at transferring the speed with the shorter irons compared to the longer ones. It really did a great job when it came to the 7 and the pitching wedge. So good in fact, despite having the slowest swing speed of all the 7 irons we tried, it managed to produce the second best ball speed of all of them. Spin-wise, I expected the King Tour and the King CB MB to be on top of the list. They are built for precision and accuracy, and those higher spin rates allow for more precision with less of a rollout of the ball when you're trying to hit very good approach shots. Moving on to our pitching wedges, the story is almost the same as it was with our 7 irons. In the distance department, at the top of the list, you will find the Forge Tech X once again, and if you're looking at spin rates, well, ahead of the pack, you'll again find the King Tour and the King CB MBs. And while I expected the King Tour to be very accurate, I was shocked by just how small I managed to make the landing zone area for the pitching wedge of this specific model. So that wraps it up for the performance review of the data we gathered, but now we've got one more thing left to do. Now, the time has come to answer the questions that we posed at the start of this video. If you remember well, we had two questions. First, we wanted to know how well suited each iron set is to the specific player type that they are built for. Second, we wanted to know what the gap in performance is between game improvement models and models that are more suited to skilled players. Well, for a second question, I think we answered it pretty well when we looked at the overall performance of our 5 and 7 irons and the pitching wedge of all the sets we tried out today. And I think it's fair to say that there is quite the performance gap between game improvement models and muscle back or even blade type irons. So keep that in mind next time you're shopping for a set. Remember, you need to find a set that matches your needs on the course and your skills. But we still had one burning question, and that was, which iron set are best suited for a different type of golfers out there? Well, I think it's pretty fair to say that when it comes to beginners and high handicappers, the answer there is the Cobra Aerojet. They were easy to hit, felt very forgiving, and gave me plenty of distance, all keys to the game of a higher handicap golfer or someone who's only starting out with the sport. From my test, I was also able to identify another group of clubs. That group was made of the Forge Tech X and the Darkspeed. Those two iron sets were perfectly suited to the needs of high to mid handicap golfers that need to still retain a bit of forgiveness, but also look for that extra touch of feel and control over the golf ball when they're hitting their approach shots with the irons. And last but not least, of course, when we're looking at higher skill players, which are the mid to the low handicap range, of course, you'd be looking at the King Tour or the King MBCB combo set that we were looking at. These are more suited to the needs of players that are looking to maximize their skill, that already have pretty fast swing speeds, and that are able to shape the ball to their liking time and time again. These irons are perfect to maximize high-end skill on the golf course, but keep in mind that if you need any help or that if you're in need of any forgiveness, you're not going to find any out of those irons. So that wraps it up for today. As always, make sure to leave a like on this video, and if you know someone who's in search of a new iron set, make sure to share the video with them. And of course, before we let you go, we just want to remind you to subscribe to Golf Avenue's channel to help us grow this beautiful community that you're all a part of. And as always, for Golf Avenue, I've been Lou. Until next time, see ya.